Okay, I want you to picture a scenario. And I think this is going to trigger a little bit of PTSD for anyone who's ever tried to learn a second language.
Oh, I know this feeling.
You're standing in front of someone, could be a barista, maybe a colleague at work.
Mm-hmm.
They ask you a simple question, and you know the answer. You genuinely know it.
It's right there. It's in your head.
It is right there, but, it's in your native language. So before you open your mouth, your brain it kicks into this frantic construction project.
Right.
You grab the first word, translate it, grab the second word, translate that. Then you panic. Wait, is the grammar right? Is it on Tuesday or is it at Tuesday?
And while you're doing all of this mental gymnastics, the person looking at you is just, well, they're just waiting.
And that silence feels like it lasts for an hour. And by the time you finally construct this perfect, grammatically correct sentence,
Yeah.
the moment's gone.
Yeah, the conversation has moved on.
It's moved on, and you just feel defeated.
It's the classic translation trap. It is like the single biggest barrier to fluency. And it's not because you don't know enough words. It's because of how you're processing them.
That is exactly what we are unpacking today.
Yeah.
And the solution isn't study harder, it's stop translating.
That's a bold claim.
It's huge, because when I hear stop translating and think in English, my immediate reaction is, okay, sure, I'll just, go run a marathon without training too. It sounds impossible.
Right. It sounds like the final boss level.
Exactly. It sounds like something you earn after 10 years.
Yeah.
But this deep dive is arguing that thinking in English isn't the finish line. It's actually the vehicle.
That's a great way to put it. And honestly, looking at the source material, this isn't just about language tips. This is getting into cognitive science.
Really?
Yeah, it's about how your brain handles load. Because the way most of us were taught to speak, it's actually designed to make us fail in a real-time conversation.
Okay, let's dig into that. Because I feel like I spent years in school memorizing vocabulary lists, and I still freeze up. Why is the school method so broken for actual speaking?
Well, think about how a vocabulary test works, right? You see the word dog, you write the word for dog in your native language, you get a check mark.
Yeah.
So your brain is being trained over and over to create a bridge. Every single English concept has to cross this native language bridge just to be understood.
It's a matching game. Table equals mesa. Red equals rojo.
Exactly. But here's the fundamental problem, and this is where we get into this idea of, cognitive load. Your brain has a limited amount of working memory. It's like the RAM in your computer.
Okay.
When you are actively translating, you're burning up a huge amount of that RAM just to do the conversion.
You're running a really heavy background program while trying to stream a video.
That is the perfect analogy. Speaking requires speed. Translation requires analysis. Those two things are in direct conflict. So when you try to do them at the same time, your system crashes. That's the freeze you feel. It's literally cognitive overload.
No, that makes me feel so much better, actually. It's not that I'm stupid. It's that I'm running the wrong software.
You're trying to run a spreadsheet when you should be running a chat app. The goal of today's deep dive is to show you how to uninstall the translation software and install the, let's call it, direct English software.
Okay, uninstalling the software. I love that. But let's get real for a second. My thoughts are complex. I'm an adult. I have, nuanced opinions. If I try to think directly in English, I feel like I turn into a toddler. I can't express me.
That fear is so real, but it's also based on a myth. The source material calls this the myth of perfection. We had this idea that thinking in English means composing these beautiful, complex paragraphs in our heads.
Right, just like we do in our native language. I want to sound witty and intelligent.
Of course. But here's the reality check. Native speakers don't think in full sentences.
Wait, really?
Not usually. I mean, if you actually pay attention to your own thoughts in your native language, you aren't narrating a novel in your head. You think in these abstract splashes, images, feelings, shortcuts. If you're thirsty, you don't think, I believe I shall now go to the kitchen and pour myself a tall glass of water.
No, I think thirsty, water, kitchen.
Spot on. You think in concepts.
Yeah.
So the first step to thinking in English isn't to translate your complex adult thoughts into complex English sentences. It's to take that raw concept, that feeling of thirst, and attach the English label directly to it. Water.
So I have to be willing to lower the bar. A lot.
Drastically. You
Okay.
have to be okay with simplicity. You aren't trying to win a debate. You are just trying to build a new neural pathway that completely bypasses your native language.
Okay, I'm willing to sound like a caveman if it means I eventually get fluent. So how do we actually do this? Because just thinking English is so much easier said than done.
Right. So the source gives us 5 specific strategies. And the first one is really designed to get around that blank page panic. They call it the small blocks technique.
Small blocks. Okay, break that down for me.
So usually when you want to speak, you try to build a whole sentence from scratch, word by word, and that's really hard. It triggers the translation brain.
Right. I'm looking for the subject, the verb, the object, all of it.
Instead, the idea is to use prefabricated chunks, blocks, phrases that are so common you don't even need to analyze them. You just throw them out there to get momentum.
What kind of things?
Oh, super simple stuff. I think that, or I want to, or for me.
This does sound incredibly basic.
They are, but they are so powerful. Think about a car that's stuck in the mud. The hardest part is getting the wheels to turn that first inch, right?
Yeah.
Once you're rolling, it's easier. These blocks are that first push. If you say, I think that, even in your head, your brain automatically switches to English mode. You set the context.
So instead of standing there thinking, okay, how do I express my detailed opinion on this movie? And then translating that whole thought, I just force myself to start with, I think.
And then your brain just naturally wants to complete the pattern. I think. It's good.
It's good. Okay, it's good.
And suddenly, you've spoken a sentence in English without translating. Was it Shakespeare? No. Did you communicate? Yes.
Yeah.
And more importantly, you stayed in the English operating system.
I see. It's all about momentum. It prevents the engine from stalling.
Exactly. You can just memorize a few of these. I'm gonna. Just keep them in your back pocket.
Okay, so strategy 1, use these starter blocks to get the ball rolling. Strategy 2, though, I have to admit, I read this in the source material and I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit.
Let me guess. The internal monologue.
Yes. Narrating your life, it feels, I don't know, a little unhinged, walking around my house talking to myself.
I get that. But think about the constraints here. This is for when you're alone. No one is listening. It's your personal training ground. The source argues that we need a low-stakes environment to practice.
Because in real life, the stakes are high. If I mess up in a meeting, I look bad.
Correct. And that pressure triggers the panic, which then triggers the translation habit. But if you're alone in your kitchen making toast, the stakes are 0.
Right.
So you just narrate what you are doing. I am taking the bread. I am hungry. The coffee is hot.
I am looking for a spoon.
Yes. And here's what's happening in your brain when you do that. You are physically strengthening the connection between the actual object, the spoon, and the English word spoon. You are cutting out the middleman.
So you're not thinking kuchera and then spoon. You're just seeing the thing and thinking spoon.
You are. You're treating your kitchen like a little language gym. And if you do this for just 5 minutes a day, you're logging reps, you're getting comfortable with the feel, the texture of English thoughts.
So when you actually get into a high-pressure conversation, your brain doesn't freak out. It's been there before.
Precisely.
Okay, I can see the logic. It's about creating a safe sandbox. But what happens, and this happens to me all the time, when I'm in that flow, I'm using my blocks, I'm doing okay, and then I hit a wall because I don't know one specific word.
The vocabulary trap.
The void. I know exactly what I want to say. I want to say stapler, but I don't know the word stapler, and I just freeze. My brain just shuts down.
This is where most learners give up. They stop speaking and start frantically scrolling through their mental dictionary. Or worse, they pull out their phone.
And the moment you do that, you've broken the spell. You're back in translation mode.
You're out, so what's the alternative? The source suggests a verbal strategy, the bridge. You have to describe the thing you don't know using the simple words you do know.
Okay, so I don't know stapler. What do I say?
You say the machine for the paper or the thing that connects the papers.
The click thing.
The click thing absolutely works. It might sound funny, sure, but look at the difference. Option A, you stand there in silence looking terrified, trying to remember stapler. The conversation dies.
Yeah.
Option B, you say, could you pass me the thing that connects the papers? And your colleague just hands you the stapler.
And the conversation continues?
And you stayed in English. You won. The source is very firm on this. The perfect word is the enemy of fluency. You don't need the perfect word. You need a bridge to get to the next sentence.
It requires a bit of humility, doesn't it? You have to be willing to sound a little imprecise.
You do. But native speakers do this all the time. How often do you hear someone say, what's that thingy called? The gadget for the...
All the time.
Yeah.
Whatchamacallit?
Exactly. Doing that doesn't mark you as a bad learner. It marks you as a resilient communicator.
I love that. Resilient communicator. Okay, let's move on to strategy 4. This one is about grammar. And again, this feels like the source is telling me to break rules I learned in school.
Which rules specifically?
Yeah. Well, it says to just stick to the present simple tense. I go, I work, I live. But in school, I spent months learning the present perfect continuous and all that. If I only use present simple, won't I sound, well, uneducated?
You might sound simple, but you will be understood. And this goes right back to that cognitive load thing we talked about.
Right.
Complex grammar is expensive. It costs a lot of brain power to conjugate verbs into the have been working tense while you are also trying to find words and maintain eye contact.
So I'm spending all my brain power on the tense, and I have nothing left for the actual message.
Precisely. The advice here is, when you're starting this habit, strip the grammar down to the studs. If you say, I work here for 10 years, every single native speaker knows exactly what you mean.
Is it perfect? Yeah.
It should be, I have been working, sure, but does it communicate the core fact? Yes, 100%.
I work here for 10 years. It's clear.
And by simplifying that grammar, you free up processing power to focus on fluency and speed. You can layer the complex stuff back in later, once you're comfortable. Don't let perfect grammar stop you from speaking now.
It's functional fluency versus academic fluency.
That's a great distinction. Academic fluency gets you an A on a test. Functional fluency gets you a coffee and a new friend.
I know which one I'd rather have. Okay, we have one last strategy. And this one tackles something purely psychological. The fear of silence.
Oh, the void.
Yeah, it's terrifying. When I'm speaking English and I need a second to think, that silence feels like an eternity. I feel like the other person is judging me, thinking, oh, he's stuck. So I panic and start translating to fill the gap.
This is a universal anxiety. But the source points out something really important. Silence is normal. Listen to two native speakers talk. There are pauses. There are gaps.
But when a native speaker pauses, they look thoughtful. When I pause, I feel like I look panicked.
That's because of how you're pausing. The source suggests using fillers. These are the little sounds and phrases we use to signal, hey, I'm not done talking, I'm just thinking.
Like and uh.
Or slightly more polished ones like, well, or let me think, or,
Let me see.
Actually, these are magic. If you are stuck, instead of standing there in frozen silence, you just say, well, let me think about that.
And that buys me, what, 3 seconds?
It buys you 3 seconds, but more importantly, it keeps the channel open. It tells the listener, stay with me. And crucially, it keeps you in English mode. You aren't retreating into your native language, you're vocalizing your thinking process in English.
It seems like such a small trick, but I can totally see how that would lower the heart rate.
It just keeps the flow. Fluency isn't about never pausing, it's about navigating the pauses gracefully.
So if we look at all these strategies, the small blocks, the internal monologue, the bridge phrases, simple grammar, the fillers, there's a common theme here, and it seems to be a shift in the goal itself.
It is. The shift is from perfection to communication.
Yeah, the source had this quote that I really like. The goal isn't to speak perfectly. The goal is to communicate one idea.
One idea. That's it. That is the atomic unit of conversation. If you get that one idea across, you've succeeded. It doesn't matter if you use the wrong preposition or the wrong tense. Did the idea transfer from your brain to theirs?
That is incredibly liberating. It just takes all the pressure off. I don't have to be a poet. I just have to be a transmitter.
And confidence comes from those successful transmissions. Every time you get an idea across, your brain gets a little hit of dopamine. Hey, that worked. And that builds the confidence to try a slightly more complex idea next time.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the theory, but this is a deep dive. We want to be practical. The source material has a mini practice section, and I actually want to try this with you and with everyone listening.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm going to ask you, the listener, to do this with us, but we need to slow it down. So wherever you are, unless you're, operating heavy machinery, just take a breath. And I want you to look at something around you. Maybe it's a chair, maybe it's a window.
And don't name it in your native language. Just look at the object.
Now, I want you to form one simple thought about it. Use one of those blocks. It is. Or, I see.
Just give it a second. Don't translate. Just let the English words float up.
Okay, I'm looking at my microphone, and my thought is, it is black?
Inspo. Direct. Did you have to translate the word black?
No, I just saw the color and the word just. It came.
Let's try one more. How do you feel right now? Use the block. I
am excited.
There it is. That split second where the word just appears. That's it. That is thinking in English.
It feels lighter.
It is lighter. There's no cognitive load. You're not carrying the weight of 2 languages. You're just using one.
And the source says we should do this. What, just whatever we think of it?
Yeah, whenever you remember. Waiting for the bus. The bus is late. Drinking your coffee, it is hot. You are just building the habit, one little thought at a time.
That brings us to the final point the source made, and it's the one that really stuck with me. It's this difference between a talent and a habit.
This is so key. We look at people who speak English fluently and we think, wow, they have a gift. They have a special brain for languages.
They're just good at it. I'm not.
But the source argues that thinking in English is not a talent. It is a habit. It is a neural groove that you physically carve out through repetition.
That's essentially saying you aren't failing because you aren't smart enough.
Yeah.
You're failing because you haven't done the reps.
It's just like going to the gym. You don't walk in and bench press 200 pounds on day one. You start with the small weights, the small blocks, the internal monologue, and you do it every day, consistently.
That really puts the power back in my hands. If it's a habit, that means I can build it.
You absolutely can. It is accessible to every single person listening to this. You just have to be willing to be imperfect, to be simple, and to start.
So that is our challenge to you, the listener. Today, just once, catch yourself. Stop that translation machine, look at something, and think one simple English thought.
The sky is blue. Start there.
Start there, and forgive yourself if it's messy. Just keep building the habit. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
It's been a pleasure. Keep practicing those blocks.
See you next time.